Welcome back to Toast Sports Baseball. This is AJ, and I got Joe here ready to break down another big week across the league. We've got injuries shaking up rosters, some hilarious off-the-field contract details, some rising trade rumors, and fantasy baseball updates you're not going to want to miss. Let's kick things off right at the top. The Red Sox just took a massive hit with Tristan Casas done for the year. What does this do to their lineup, and could we see Devers shifting over to first base? Let's break it down. Joe?
Yeah, I would definitely say a significant loss. Casas has been struggling. He was currently batting 182 with only 3 home runs and a sub 600 OPS with a 580 OPS. He was originally slotted hitting 4th in the lineup behind Bregman. He has since slid down to 7th, and now obviously he's out of the lineup. The Red Sox have recalled Abraham Toro to kind of replace him, and Romy Gonzalez, who's actually been doing really good so far this year as kind of the journeyman of the MLB, is kind of taking over full duties at first base. It could be the end of the Tristan Casas era, I think some might say, just due to his Netflix publicity where you either love him or you hate him. His off-field antics, he's kind of a character. Sunbathing before games, and just kind of wild personality. And I wouldn't say he's a fan favorite in the locker room or a fan favorite of Alex Cora. And yeah, but I think ultimately the Red Sox are the best if he's performing to his ability, which he kind of showed in 2023 when he had a top 5 OPS to end the year. I think from July, the All-Star break forward. Only a couple of people like Aaron Judge and a couple of others had a higher OPS than him during that time frame, and it just hasn't panned out due to injuries and inconsistency. Devers moving the first base, I would love to see it. However, Torres already came out and said that he is the full-time DH, and that is his role, and he already had him made the excruciating adjustment from third base to DH, and it would be too excruciating for him to pick up the first baseman and try and play first.
We don't want another stretch of 30 plus K percentage or 40 plus K percentage. Is that what we're trying to say here?
Apparently not. So they are comfortable with Devers and the remaining of his contract being the full-time DH, the David Ortiz reincarnated. I don't agree with it. I think he could obviously do it, but that is how the Red Sox are moving forward.
Yeah, I personally would love to see it too. I think he kind of fits that, at least the body type of a first baseman. It'd be fun to kind of see him over there. I mean, he's got a good enough glove to play first base as well, coming over from third base. I know he wasn't great in the field, but it'd be nice to at least get him some reps there and get him some games there, because God forbid they need him at some point to actually play first base. You could have him already ready for it, and there's a hole right there right now, so why not? I'm on the fence on if I think the Casas thing is going to be a big deal or not. Obviously his 2023 numbers were great, and if he could have reached back to that potential, which I think even though he had a slow start, you can't write a guy off at 100 bats in. I think he probably would have been a really nice boost for your team this year, if you're the Red Sox. So I don't know. Time will tell, but I think right now, looking forward, I think they got to try and figure out something there at that first base spot.
Well, I agree, and I think the Devers solution also solves the Masataka Yoshida situation. Whenever he returns, if Devers can play first base, he can slide into DH. And then it also gives you room for possibly a Roman Anthony to slide in at some point. So it kind of gives you more roster flexibility, in my opinion. But that is why I do a baseball podcast and not manage or operate the Boston Red Sox. So
absolutely. Speaking of managing players and teams, some contract details were leaked this last week. Roki Sasaki in his contract, he had the Dodgers basically agree to installing 8 Japanese smart toilets quote unquote smart toilets. They have heated seats and bidets. And that was actually written into the contract of his deal. I don't have a firm take on this. I've not tried one of these smart toilets in my life, but they must be pretty damn good to make them put it in your contract.
Yeah, there was the old saying like look good, play good. I guess in Roki Sasaki's standpoint, poop good, pitch good. I mean, more power to him. The toilet sounds super sweet. I would love to have a Japanese smart toilet at my disposal, especially if I had 8 of them. I could probably like place them in strategic locations where I poop, and then there'll never be a doubt of having a smart toilet and pooping with the full gratification of it. But he's been improving, so maybe the smart toilets are the key to Roki's success.
Yeah, to that point, right? Sasaki has a 2.47 ERA this year with a .98 WHIP, 35% K percentage, and his splitter has actually got a 44% whiff rate, which is ace level. I mean, that's above the Kevin Gossmans of the world, who have great splitters already. He's showing out for the Dodgers and just had another good start against the Braves this last weekend. I mean, it's a 3-headed monster over there in Dodger land. Once Glasnow's back and healthy, you got Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Sasaki that you got to go up against each matchup. So not a lot of fun to face those guys. I think I don't know, man. Forget Rookie of the Year. Sasaki keeps it going. We might be talking about him being one of the best pitchers in baseball. So toilets are working, man. Toilets are working.
Gotta have them, and you gotta wonder what other unique contract details there are, which hopefully some will leak so we can discuss them here.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure there's some weird ones out there for sure. Speaking of some weird stuff going on, I'm hearing a lot more chatter about this Nolan Arenado situation, about him getting moved. I don't really know what to think of it right now. It seems like obviously he's got a no trade clause. But all of a sudden there's like this weird heat up of all these trade rumors again. So I'm hearing Tigers, Detroit. I'm hearing Yankees. I'm hearing Dodgers. I'm hearing all these teams involved in this situation. Where would you most likely see him landing? And where do you think he makes the biggest impact in one of those teams?
I think the Tigers will be the most aggressive if they can get him to waive his no trade clause, just because they wanted to get Bregman and he would automatically slot in there. You are kind of paying for his latter years, but it could be the boost that they need for a playoff run. I would never count out the Dodgers. They always find a way to work it out. I'd have to verify, but I think the Yankees were on his no trade clause list, which, like I said, that would have to be verified. But anytime you have an older player who hasn't really tasted the playoffs and he gets a chance to play in the playoffs, they usually do something. Kurt Schilling, for example, the Red Sox were on his no trade list back in 2004, and then obviously he got traded there, and the rest is history. He waived it, mostly because of Terry Francona, but it happens. So I would add the Red Sox as well, because he could go play first base. And I know that was his favorite spot to begin with. He wanted to be on the Red Sox until they signed Bregman for $40 million a year.
You really see him taking that step back and going over to first base, though? I mean,
I think he still plays third. I think he does.
Yeah.
He would just rotate. There would be a rotation. I think he still plays third, plays first, maybe get some DH breaks if they decide Devers can actually play the position, any position. But if I had the bet, I think the Tigers will be the most aggressive.
Yeah, I've heard the Tigers the most lately. I will say, if the Yankees end up landing Arenado, their infield defense improves by 5 to 10 runs overnight. And his glove alone, just, even if he's a league average bat at this point in his career, he could really make a big difference on that Yankees team. And he's not really a pull hitter guy, but he can pull. And that's probably the easiest place for him to still get up into the 20 plus home run a year type stats. So interesting to follow. I'd love to see him with the Tigers. I think it would make their team just like that little oomph that they need to get over the hump and put them into like a real World Series argument. Not that they aren't there, but this could really solidify it.
Well, I think it really solidifies it if, I think the Cardinals get the biggest package if they include Helsley as well. So if they include Helsley, they probably can not have to eat any of the Arenado contract and still get some top prospects in return on top of it. Yep. And so you're looking at someone like the Yankees who have had their bullpen issues. If you get Helsley and then obviously correct their current issues and add Arenado, that makes them a very formidable opponent moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of Detroit, I don't know if you caught it the other night. Riley Greene had a historic, I'll call it historic. It's the first time it's ever happened. Ninth inning, big moment, hit 2 home runs in the same inning, which that's happened in the past, but not in the ninth inning. And it's an ultra rare feat anyway. And to do it at the end of the game when you've already played the entire game shows that he's youthful and has a lot of youthful energy that we love to see in those types of guys. This season, he's slashing 310, 392, and 575, 8 homers with a 47% hard hit rate. The dude's mashing. And if he keeps it up, he's already one of the top 5 left-handed hitters in the AL right now, probably. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think Detroit's only going to get better, especially if they add some pieces at the deadline or before. And I think they have an easier path than people were expecting in the AL Central. Cleveland had a good week last week to kind of at least keep it close, but I think Detroit is going to surprise some people in the AL and definitely has a really good chance of being in the World Series with a piece or two.
Well, and they've got a couple other guys that are stepping up too. Javi Baez, who we all kind of wrote off his career, like this is it, the dude's done, he's washed. All of a sudden they put him out in center field and he looks like prime Mike Trout. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen some of the catches he's made, robbing home runs, and now at the plate he's also stepping up big. He hit a grand slam this last weekend as well. So exciting times in Detroit. I really want to see them be consistent through the season. Obviously, health will play into that, but they're young and they're fun to watch. So
yeah, they got a great starting rotation. They got a great bullpen, and their offense is overproducing, but I think it could stay. And they have the capability to go add people. So I think it's just a great recipe for success. And I think if you're teams that are rebuilding, you should take a look at the Tigers because they have obviously drafted and they've kept, they've put faith in people like Torkelson, who was a former first round pick, and Mays, a former first round pick, and have kind of progressed with their struggles. And now they're finally hitting stride and they're producing. And now they're at a point where they can supplement that young core and have it sustained for, the next 5 to 7 years which is what you want. So
yeah, they kind of remind me of like the Warriors in basketball when they had all of those. It was Curry and Klay Thompson, all these guys. It was like this young core that was coming up, and then they just went on this nasty run where they just couldn't stop winning. That's kind of how Detroit's done it, where they've really built up through the draft and they've built up through acquiring prospects over time and just developing the crap out of them. And now here we are, and we're starting to see it's paying off for them. So
yeah, and once again, they couldn't get the big free agent signing because no one wants to go to Detroit. It's a hitter's park. It's a pitcher's park, hitter's nightmare. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I can go to Detroit and possibly compete for a World Series. Yeah, I think I'll give them a second look. So very cool story for 2025.
Yeah, and speaking of Baez looking like prime Mike Trout, I don't think we're going to see prime Mike Trout anymore. I think it's done. He's back on the IL. He has knee inflammation, no timetable for a return. He was having a decent year. I just don't think that we're ever going to see Mike Trout have like one of those one more pushes at being elite. He just can't keep it up. He's way too injury prone. The team around him isn't good enough for him to put up stellar counting stats either outside of home runs. Like most of his home runs are solo shots. So it's a bad-ish team. I mean, I think they're doing okay this year. What are they sitting? No, they're now down. They were kind of fighting at the beginning of this year, but now they're 13-20 and looking like a bottom feeder again. So this is it for Mike Trout. He's gonna come back and he's gonna play, but I don't think he's the superstar that we once knew.
Yeah, it definitely hurts. It's a shame. He's definitely going to have the what if always around him. But staying healthy in baseball is part of the gig, unfortunately. Yeah. It's what makes a career very impressive if you are able to stay healthy. He is 33 years old, and he's 113 home runs from 500. So I think if he could get to 500 home runs, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Assuming he can do it for 7 more years. What's that math? Something. 20-something a year.
I just don't know.
Yeah. It would be cool to see him get that. Other than that, I mean, I think he's going to be always, you see him for 50 to 75 games a year if you're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, I'll be honest. I was one of the bigger Trout fans. I loved watching him. Even, it's kind of one of those things, right? Like, I'm not an Angels fan. I have no allegiance to the Angels, but I always like Mike Trout. He was a likable player, and it does suck to watch the end of his career just kind of almost Griffey-esque, right? Like, just injury after injury, can't stay on the field, and it's just sad. It's sad. It's the end of an era.
Yeah, and I mean, when he was coming up too, he was in like pitchers dominant galore. It's like the Kershaw prime, Scherzer prime, Verlander prime, all these no hitters, multiple perfect games, and he's still hitting 40 home runs with 30 stolen bags and 100 RBIs, 100 runs. So he was kind of just like the guy that stuck out in this pitchers dominant era. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So
tough scene out there in LA. Another injury that we're kind of tracking right now. So for the Cubs, Shōta Imanaga hits the IL with a hamstring strain. Sounds like he's going to be out 2 to 3 starts, maybe a little longer. You know how nagging those can be. But he's posted a great stat line to start the year this year. I am excited, not for the injury to Imanaga, but what it could mean for the Cubs, and that is bringing up one of their top prospects in Cade Horton. I can't wait to watch this guy pitch. He is pretty nasty. He's got a fastball slider combo that's generated a 42% minor league whiff rate. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. All these young pitchers these days, it's a lot of fun. And with the Cubs in the heat of the Central Division race, they're basically, it's theirs to lose. Right now's time to bring guys up that you think can make a change.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be screaming, when's the trade going to happen? When's the trade going to happen? For the Cubs, and it's just, Strider went down with a hamstring too. I don't remember these pitchers getting hamstring injuries that I can recall. So kind of just an odd injury for Imanaga. But Horton seems to be a promising prospect, and it's always a flip of a coin. They're going to be really good or really bad. So
yeah. We saw Jack Leiter last year. He was one of the top prospects for Texas. Came up immediately, just got smashed, and they sent him right back down. Hopefully, if you're a Cubs fan, you got to be excited about watching the MLB debut. Hopefully, it comes against somebody easy. I will tell you. If it comes in this coming week, it'll likely either be the Mets or the Giants, which I don't love the matchup for either one of those two. But again, it's a guy that neither of those teams have ever seen, so you have a little bit of an advantage there. Awesome, man. I'm really excited about some of these top free agent signings that we had this last offseason. I know there's a guy on your team and there's a guy on my team, and we've discussed this at length about who's getting the better deal here so far. I got to go with Carson Kelly if it's me. The dude was signed to a contract that was team friendly, and what has he done? He's gone out and hit 368 with 7 home runs and 22 RBIs. He also hit for a cycle already this year. The first cycle of the year by Carson Kelly, no joke. Really excited about him on the Cubs. I think he's stabilized the catching position for us a little bit, with Amaya being kind of a up and down guy. He's more of a behind the plate guy. Carson Kelly's really holding the offensive production there.
Yeah. I know the Red Sox were targeting Kelly in the offseason and decided not to go that route. And he's definitely been the best bargain deal free agent by far. And it's kind of been somewhat of an anchor in the bottom of the lineup for the Cubs, which is always nice to have.
Yep.
Obviously Bregman has been fantastic. His defense was kind of mad at first. Was actually on pace to have the same amount of errors as Devers did last year. Offensively, he's been amazing. But I think Pete Alonso has even been more amazing.
Yeah.
Or 1124 OPS, 8 home runs, 31 RBIs. He has been the steady force for the Mets. And, has kind of, I would say he's been the catalyst for besides their starting pitching, the catalyst for their offense to put them where they are currently in the standings.
Now, remind me, was Pete Alonso, was he a free agent this last offseason, or was it an extension that he signed? I can't remember.
He was a free agent.
He was a free agent.
No one would give him any long-term deals, and then he basically begged the Mets to take him back.
Yeah.
And the Mets gave him, I think, a 2-year deal with a team option, but then he got like a signing bonus this year, so he's technically the highest paid first baseman this year, but he only got 2 years essentially. I think
2 years, $54 million.
It was a player option, I'm pretty sure, so he can opt out of this year. But first base is just like no teams want to pay him because you can just move someone else over there so easily. I guess. I mean, you can't move Rafael Devers over there, but apparently the first base market, no teams want to pay because they feel like they can either get it through the draft or they can switch someone in the offseason and kind of allocate their money in better ways. But if I have to say the best free agent signing so far, because I do think this team's record and trajectory would be completely different if he was not on the team currently, would be Max Fried.
Yeah.
I think the Yankees have a 500 or below 500 record when Max Fried is not pitching, and then Max Fried is 6-0 with a 1.01 ERA and a .94 WHIP. So he has really been the anchor to the Yankees, especially without Garrett Cole for the year.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think Max Fried, you don't hear it very often, but the Yankees hit a home run with a pitching signing. So it was one that was talked about a lot in the offseason. How's he going to, especially with Cole going down, how's he going to step up and be the guy that the Yankees can count on as their ace? And he's been nothing short of fantastic. I don't know if we just gave the stat line there yet or not, but a 1.01 ERA with an under 1 WHIP with 39 Ks and a 6-0 record. He's just been nasty. And he's been a difference maker in that team. So yeah, him and Judge, man, they're carrying the load over there.
Mm-hmm. They're one injury away.
Yeah. Speaking of the standings currently, New York is sitting atop the AL East. I know that makes you just cringe a little bit. However, it's not all bad news. Boston is right there behind them at 18-18 with the 500 record. They're only 2 games out of first place. So it's competitive like we thought it'd be, but maybe in a different sense. I thought it would be, we'd see the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, and especially the Orioles, be all, mashing and performing well. And it's really been like the Yankees, yeah, to an extent. I mean, their record still isn't overly impressive, but the Red Sox have kind of struggled. Toronto has definitely struggled, and Baltimore is just, I mean, they're, we beat it like a dead horse last week, but my God, they are just horrible. 13-20 this year. Yeah, how do you see this shaking out?
I mean, I think the Yankees are that's exactly how I thought they'd be. The Red Sox have been underwhelming. As soon as you think they're turning a page, they revert right back. And if it wasn't for Bregman, I think they'd be really struggling. I think they'd be closer to what the Orioles are doing right now. It's like Bregman was ready to come in and win, and everyone else is playing video games, as Jared Carrabis said it. So Bregman thought he was entering a rager, and everyone's just sitting around playing Halo.
Yeah.
It's disappointing, but I think there's still enough time for them to hop on track. Their highs are very impressive. It's just they still have the lows.
Yeah.
So if they can middle that out. I think the Rays are also surprising. I think the Rays are only going to get better. Shane McClanahan will be returning at some point. They will call up a prospect that surprises everyone, and they will make some trade deadline deal that no one thinks will be beneficial, and it will be very beneficial for them. Yeah. And I think they're a team to watch. And then with the Blue Jays just look old, and then the Orioles are just a complete disappointment and have too many question marks with their pitching.
Yeah, Baltimore and Atlanta kind of sit in the same thing for me, where it's just like you just kind of wait for it to turn on and wait for them to kind of take off, and they just haven't. And I keep waiting. I do think at some point Baltimore's going to rip off 8 straight, 9 straight, and we're going to go, okay, wait, they might be back, and then we're going to see how they can maintain that. But I can't see them being a 39% win percentage team come June, July. I just don't see it. We'll see. There's a lot of talent on the team. They have a lot of question marks, though, with that pitching staff. Skipping over to the Central, the Tigers are starting to look like the formidable team to beat there. 22-13, and Cleveland is right behind them, a game and a half out. As you mentioned earlier, they did have a good week this last week. They're 6-4 in their last 10, with Kansas City Royals being 8-2 in their last 10. So yeah, the Central's kind of what we thought it would be. It's a 3-team race. Minnesota and Chicago are going to kind of play themselves out, and they're all going to beat up on the White Sox all year and just kind of build their win totals up.
Yeah, I think Detroit's definitely the front runner of it. And we'll see if Cleveland and Kansas City can keep up.
Yeah. Speaking of keeping up, the West, the Rangers, man, are a little concerning now. And nobody's talking about this yet, by the way. I'm not hearing anybody chatter about this Texas Rangers team and how they are woefully underperforming. We'll save that for a minute. The Seattle Mariners, however, have been very impressive with a 20-13 record, sitting atop the AL West right now. There's a second team in there, though, that is going to steal the show. The Athletics, after kind of a bit of a rough start to get it going this year, have just been great to watch and a lot of fun. They got Soderstrom knocking the ball out of the park. You got Jacob Wilson, who's been a lot of fun to watch. He's hitting for like 380. He's struck out like 6 times this year. Fun team, and their pitching's only getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Oakland was, I don't know if I officially called them a dark horse, but I definitely took the over on their win total. I think it was like 71 wins, which I thought was insane. They have a lot of young talent, and they're going to be pesky. No one's going to want to play them. And if you look at their home and away, they love playing on the road. They cannot stand Sacramento. Yeah. So I think once they move to Vegas, that's going to be a franchise to kind of watch, because they have another young core established if they can just keep it, maintain it, extend it. The Mariners have definitely been the best team out west. Um, the Rangers have been surprisingly terrible at hitting.
Yeah.
They've had starting pitching injuries, and their hitting has been terrible, which is a big surprise because that was supposed to be one of their strong points. They have recently fired their hitting coach, Donnie Ecker, and have inputted Brett Boone, the old Seattle Mariner great. So we shall see if that changes anything for Bruce Bochy and the bunch with the Rangers.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't call it panic time, but if you're a Rangers fan, this should almost keep you up at night. They've lost 7 of their last 8 series. They were swept, or not swept, sorry. They lost 3 out of 4 to the A's. They lost 2 out of 3 to Seattle most recently. Now I will say they've had a tough schedule. I'm going back and looking at their last couple series. They've played Seattle, the A's, at San Francisco, the A's, the Dodgers, the Angels when the Angels were playing good, Seattle and Chicago were their last 8 series. So, there's reason to be optimistic if the schedule starts to get a little easier. The thing is, in that division, you're going to be playing the Astros and you're going to be playing the Seattle Mariners a ton. And I don't think you can afford to be, going 3-7 in your last 10.
Nope, definitely got to be better for the World Series prediction.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's skip over to National League. So the East is starting to shape up. I think this is kind of what we expected outside the Braves, right? The Braves are down in the dumps still. Every time it looks like they're about to break out, they don't. They just got their butt whooped by the Dodgers this last weekend. The Mets are taking over though. 22-13. Their pitching slipped a little bit. Which we kind of expected it was going to come back down to the mean a little bit. But they've kept it up from an offensive standpoint as well. So Mets, Phillies, Nationals, Braves, Marlins. Feels like a runaway for the Mets at this point though.
Yeah, I think it's still early. Mets are 9-10 on the road, 13-3 at home. I think if you're a Mets fan, you want to see a little more better play on the road. Mm-hmm. I think the Phillies are exactly where I thought they would be. Maybe a little underperforming, but they have a very quality team, solid roster, veteran roster, and I still think the Braves have plenty of time to make their case for the East. Yeah. So we shall see. The Nats and the Marlins are kind of right where everyone expected. So we will see if the Mets pitching can keep it up.
Yeah, I'm so tired of crapping on the Atlanta Braves. It was fun for a week, because it was like, oh yeah, everyone thought they were going to be hot and now they're not. But it's like, guys, wake up. You guys are like one of the best rosters in baseball. Can we not be 5 games under 500, please, for the remainder of the season? So, yeah, I agree that I expect them to bump back up. I think at the very worst, they would finish 3rd in that division. At the best, I mean, who knows? They could still win it. So, let's talk a little Central baseball. So, the Chicago Cubs, you want to talk about running away with it? It does feel like they are going to be the team to beat. Now, are the injuries going to be something that derails this team and keeps them from taking that, 7-8 game lead into the summer months? I'm a little nervous about their injuries right now. So Cincinnati's right there.
The Reds, the fighting Franconas, 1 game over 500. They're only 3 back. That's all they got to do is keep it close till September. August, September, you're 3 games back. It's anyone's game.
Yeah, I just posted this last week about how hot Ellie De La Cruz has been. I don't know if the streak's ended yet, but he was on some crazy long hitting or on base streak. I'm expecting to see his power numbers increase too as the weather warms up a little bit over there in Cincinnati. And he should scare everybody on the base paths. I think he's been caught like once or twice all year, and he's got like 14 bags stolen. So Um, yeah, I don't know how I see the Central shaking out right now. I do think the Cubs win it. I think that they end up, pretty healthily winning that division. But the Reds could make it interesting, and I don't think anybody else has enough pitching or lineup power to keep up with either of those two teams in that division. AL West, best in baseball. The Dodgers are sitting atop that at 23-11. Right behind them is the San Diego Padres at 22-11. And right behind them is the San Francisco Giants at 22-13. And don't look now, but there's the Arizona Diamondbacks also sitting at 18-16. That's 4 teams, guys, sitting above 500 and pretty well above 500.
Yeah, you got the Padres on a 5-game win streak, Giants on a 3-game win streak. Dodgers winning their series against the Braves, and 7-3 in their last 10. It is as advertised out there, and I think it's all going to stay. I think that's going to be remain pretty consistent with their records. So it's tough out there right now.
Every single one of those teams has a positive run differential as well. So it's no fluke. Those are all 4 very good teams. And a lot of them are dealing with injuries still. So wait till they get healthy. It's going to be even scarier. So, if you're the Rockies, I just throw the towel in, guys. It's over. It is so over. You guys are just going to be crapped on all year.
Total black pill from AJ.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Let's talk about no hope. I did not do well last week in our series predictions. I would say for you to gloat, but it did bring us back to even. So let's go ahead and just kind of walk through those really quick. We had a couple really good series. Seattle versus the Rangers was one of the best series of the week, which ended up kind of being a little bit of a flop. There was a lot of back and forth, but also some blowouts in that as well. So I did take the Rangers 2-1. I thought being at home may give them the edge. It did not. The Seattle Mariners came in and just kind of beat the crap out of those guys. So you did take the Mariners 2-1. That was a series win for Joe. This one is the one that hurt me the most, actually. The Rays versus Yankees. So I had the Yankees sweeping, and it was right there. When I say it was right there, it was right there. The Yanks were in each game. It was very competitive. They won the one, and then the other ones they lost in late innings, just falling apart as the Yankees tend to do. I thought, again, being at home and with Judge just doing what he's doing, Fried was on the mound the one day. I just thought it would propel him. It didn't. They ended up losing the series 2-1.
As they should.
Yeah, I know that one definitely didn't hurt your feelings at all. D-backs and Phillies was the next one that we had. I had the D-backs 2-1. I don't know why I felt great about that one. I don't think I felt. I think I said maybe last week I could see either one of these teams taking 2 games from each other. The D-backs actually came out and slugged pretty good the last day, but couldn't keep it up the first 2 days. So they did lose that series, and Joe took that one 2-1. And then the Dodgers and Braves. This was my lone win of the week. The Dodgers didn't let me down. They came through 2-1 against the Braves.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really a close series. The Braves end up squeaking out the last game of the series, but the Dodgers, significantly better team than them right now.
Yeah.
Which it is what it is with the Braves.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Well, that puts our current standings at 10-10. So we're dead even heading into this coming week, which we've got a couple more predictions for this week that we're going to be talking through. But man, it might be like this all year. And apparently it's like this in fantasy baseball, who me and Joe are also facing off in fantasy baseball this the last, we'll call it, week and then into this week. So I don't know how you feel, but I don't feel bad about my fantasy team right now, but I don't feel great either. We're kind of trading blows right now. I went up by 10 categories to 3. And then all of a sudden I look and you're up 9 categories to 3 or 4. And then, now I think I'm up 1 category on you. So it's like all batting versus all pitching.
Yeah. My batting's so feast or famine. The hitting's so feast or famine on my team. And when they're hot, I take the lead. When they're not hot, I lose.
Yeah.
Pitching's been nice this week. We got a lot of close categories heading into the final week of our matchup, and we shall see what happens.
Speaking of which, I think we've already flip-flopped again as we're sitting here. You're now up 7-6. This is how tight this has been. It's like a back and forth prize fight. So it will be fun. I'm hoping that once this series is over, maybe you and I can get a trade done, which I know that you've been pushing for, but I will not trade you as we're playing, because I know that's it's gonna come back to bite me. So speaking of fantasy baseball, though, there are some guys that are crazy hot right now, and there are some guys that are absolutely not in our weekly who's hot, who is not. You want to lead us off there with one of Detroit's finest?
Yeah, we talked about him earlier, Riley Greene. He is hitting a .464, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, 7 runs, and has a 1393 OPS.
Nasty.
So he's doing pretty good. We have Michael Garcia.
Yep.
Hitting 500 with 2 bombs, 4 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 1372 OPS. Could be available in your league. It might be a good ad if you are struggling.
I do think that he's a guy that I would trade for, by the way. I have him on my team. I had him on my team last year. He's kind of taken a step forward. He's striking out a lot less, and he's making better contact. The dude also stole 37 bags last year, so he's gonna get you a bunch of steals. And all of a sudden, he's showing a lot of pop at the plate. He hit 2 homers last night in the game and had 7 for the entire year last year. So he's already up to, I think, 4 on the year.
Yeah, he sounds like a good snag. Kyle Stowers, 421 average, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, a 1526 OPS.
Yep, Marlins are loving that.
The young hope.
The
franchise.
Yeah, there's
the big tuna.
The Marlins need help wherever they can get it, and it is fun to watch guys that rake. So, loving to see it.
Next up is the captain, Aaron Judge, Captain America, hitting 500, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs with a 1597 OPS.
He won't stop.
This train moves with him with the Yankees offensively.
Just will not stop. I'm gonna talk about this guy because he is on my team. Jacob Wilson with a 331 average and an 805 OPS, absolutely steady. The biggest thing here is the guy struck out 6 times all year. And the weird thing about this, though, he's only walked 5 times. So he's not walking, he's swinging quick. He's getting up there and he's hitting the ball. He's putting it in play very quickly. And he's hitting for a little bit of power, which is always a good thing when you're a young guy like that. But yeah, I think this guy may be a dark horse, maybe not a dark horse, maybe the leader for AL Rookie of the Year.
Could be.
Gonna throw it out there.
75% or 88% rostered. So people are on his case. People have him.
Yeah.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the guy who has like he doesn't go to 2-0 or 3-0 counts? He's constantly swinging. Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty insane. He's an anomaly to baseball. But when you're producing, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I believe there was a stat at some point. I don't know how long ago this was, but it was like maybe a couple weeks ago. And he had not gotten to a 3-2 count all season. And he was like 88 at bats in. It was crazy. Or he hadn't even seen a 3-ball count, I think is what it was. It was something nuts like that. He just goes up there and is ready to hit, man.
He's a hacker. He is. Expands the zone with his bat, which you'd love to see. Vlad Vladimir Guerrero-esque style.
For sure.
Probably without a little less pop. But, and white.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Got
Gunnar Hoglund, who I picked up. One of the top prospects for Athletics, made his debut. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. He is going to stay on the fantasy team, and it sounds like he will get a second start with the Athletics due to his performance.
Yeah, it was a good start. It was against the Miami Marlins, so there's a little bit of an asterisk there. So we'll see how he does in his next outing. But he is playing Seattle on May 7th.
That'll be a good test for sure.
And his next, if he sticks around, will be against the Dodgers. So 2 tough ones coming up. But you never know. I mean, if he goes out there and he absolutely throws gas and strikes a bunch of dudes out, we're going to be celebrating that pickup. Let's talk a little who's not here. So there's 3 guys right now that I'm kind of watching that are just not living up to expectations over the last week or so. Spencer Torkelson is actually leading that, which is funny because we talked about how great he was doing earlier in the season. Over his last week or so, he's batting under 100. Not great. Want to make sure that we see a little bit more consistency out of him because we have seen him drop off in the past. It's one of those things, right? Were you just hot and that's why we were riding the train? Or are you actually an elite player? Elite players usually get it back together pretty quick, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think most people would say batting 95 for the week is not very good. It's got to be better. I'm sure Torkelson and the Detroit crew is telling him that, and we'll see what he can do from there.
Yep, absolutely.
Christian Walker.
Yeah, Christian Walker. Yeah. Take
Last
it away.
Week, 200 average, 623 OPS, only 4 home runs and 9 RBIs, striking out 33% of the time. Not what you want to see.
No, not at all. And those are his season stats. So the dude is just not doing anything to help the Astros right now. And the problem is nobody on that team is really stepping up from an offensive standpoint. And it's really tough to watch right now if you're an Astros fan. They need Yordan back, and they need Yordan back quickly, and they need him to be Yordan, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The last one on the who's not, though, is Anthony Santander, a 178 average, a 267 OBP, and a 310 slug. Only 4 home runs on the season. He's been dreadful. Makes you wonder if the O's saw that one coming, although, the O's don't have much to be cheering, but maybe that's the one good move that they made recently.
Yeah, one of those home runs came against the Red Sox to tie the game, and then Toronto ended up winning the game after the Red Sox were up 6-0 in the 7th. So Santander can still hurt me personally, but overall has not had a good, successful season with his first season with the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Let's talk a little more fantasy buy low, sell high targets. I'm gonna rattle off 3 buy low targets that you should be targeting right now. One we just previously mentioned, Yordan Alvarez. This is probably the cheapest you're ever going to be able to get Yordan from a fantasy perspective. He's on the IL, and he's also not been great to start out the season. He does have a sluggish start this year, but his expected slug is like a 502. So I see a bounce back coming for him. And I think it's still Yordan, and he's still not that old. So go grab him. Julio Rodriguez is another. He's a guy that he's a habitual slow starter. His OPS in the first half of seasons is 734. His OPS in the second half of seasons is 903. So wait on this guy if you have him. And if you're somebody that's looking for some outfield help down the stretch, that's a guy that I would be trying to obtain for a lower price point than you might be able to get him later in the year. And then another guy that's kind of struggling right now is Dylan Cease. I don't think he's made it 5 innings in maybe 4 straight starts. So it's been tough for him. But his ERA is sitting at a 5.76, but his FIP is a 3.15. So underlying numbers are good.
Underlying numbers are good. And Dylan Cease is in a contract year. You would assume that he's got to eventually perform to get paid. I would like
Yep.
that as well. Second half. Love Jordan. I still think he's the best hitter in baseball. I don't care what anyone else tells me. And I mean, if anyone's willing to trade Julio, go get him for sure.
Yeah, I for one am not willing to trade Julio. I do have him on my team, and he will. I'd rather bench him and just let him sit there than actually give him up. So
For sure.
couple sell high guys as well. So one we talked about last week, I believe, is Andy Pajes. He was like NL Player of the Week. He had some crazy week that he just went nuts. His batting average, or his balls in play batting average on balls in play, is very high. And that usually signals that we can see some regression coming, because at some point those balls in play are going to be outs. And right now, I think we're kind of already starting to see it from Pajes. But if you can offload him for a guy that's a little bit more consistent, I would go ahead and do it. He's hitting 292 with 6 homers and 3 stolen bases. I don't know. I just don't see it staying long term. And I think he's not a guy that has a long proven track record of it. Just offload him. Go get somebody consistent.
Yeah, I also think if you're the Dodgers, you always get someone at the trade deadline, and that could be a spot where Pages plays. Pajes.
Yes, yeah.
He's on my team. I just added him, and I call all my guys different things, usually by the wrong name. But yeah, I mean, I agree with AJ. If you can put him in a trade to acquire someone more consistent, that is definitely the smart thing. I don't know if smart's the right word, but the law of averages thing to do, because more than likely he's not going to be performing like this the entire year.
Well, and maybe he will, right? But I don't know if that I would want to take the risk of it. I'd rather get somebody that I know is going to perform. That would just be my preference, and I think most people would probably agree with that. Tyler Mahle is the other one. Sell high on this guy. He looks great, but he's got a massive strand rate. Means he's putting a ton of guys on base, and the defense is making some plays to get him out of the jams. He also has a pretty lengthy injury history. Cash in on him. He's got a 1.19 ERA right now. Somebody that's desperate for some pitching in fantasy will absolutely take him off your hands for a little bit of a price.
Yeah, or it could be his year. I know he was another top young gun for the Reds before he got traded last year. This could be his year.
Yeah.
A 1.19 ERA is more than likely not going to last, but the 0.98 WHIP, even with the traffic, is a good number to look at, because it means he's not walking a lot of guys.
Yep.
So he might be giving up some hits here and there, and then he's able to use his stuff to get out of it. But as long as he's not giving up a lot of hits and a lot of walks, then that usually equates into good stats.
Yep, absolutely. So we got some series to watch this weekend. We don't have a lot of data when it comes to who's pitching these matchups, but I will tell you, based on how some of these teams are playing, I don't think it really matters. We're going to start it off in Detroit, who has been, kind of the topic of conversation in this week's podcast. But so Texas is going to Detroit, coming off, obviously we already mentioned it. I think 8 series losses in a row or something like that, or 7 of their last 8. Can they right the ship in Detroit? Joe, who's your pick here?
I got the Rangers 2-1. I know they have Corbin pitching, and I've been talking a lot of smack about Corbin, but he actually has like a 3.3 ERA this year. And I just think the Rangers figure out a way. They're going to right the ship. They got Brett Boone now. Bochy's going to get them right. They've been slow starters the past, even the World Series year, they were a slow starter. So I think they're going to overcome the injuries, and Bochy's going to get them right. 2-1 Rangers.
I'm going the complete opposite here. I think I am fading Texas here. Their offense has not been producing, and they're going to a traditionally really tough place to hit. And I just like Detroit. I like Detroit 2-1. I could even see them squeaking out a sweep. I really could, if things don't go the way that Texas needs them. But if DeGrom's pitching, I think they probably get a game. So I'm going to go Detroit 2-1 there.
Okay.
let's skip over to the National League. Cubs versus Mets. This is going to be an awesome series. Lots of offense. I'm going to go ahead and pass it actually to you. Who do you see in this matchup?
I am going Cubs 2-1, assuming that Imanaga start is probably not going to happen. Yep, that's what the gut tells me. 2-1 Cubs. Mets are going to falter. Cubs offense is going to prevail.
Yeah, this is going to be fun because I'm going to catch so much heat from Mets fans this week. Listen here. This is what's going to happen. The Cubs are going to take the series 2-1. And they may even sweep the Mets here. And I think one of the things that's going to be glaring is, one, the Mets have had one of the easiest schedules to date in anybody in the MLB. The Cubs have had one of the hardest schedules of anybody to date. And the Cubs are mashing. And they're healthy on offense. They're going to expose that Mets pitching staff, which looks pristine right now. And I'm telling you, they're not going to be pristine after this weekend. So it's going to be a tough weekend if you're a Mets fan. Let's talk a little Red Sox versus Royals. Who you got here? I'm assuming I know.
Yep, I'm going to go with the Sox. Fighting Sox, they're going to figure it out, even though traditionally they play terrible in Kansas City. So, Bayo game 1 versus Reagans. Don't like the matchup, but they're going to figure it out somehow. Sean Newcomb. He's been pitching well, honestly, but we got a couple TBDs and then TBD. I'm liking the Sox. I think this past week they should have went 6-0 and instead went 2-4. They had their bullpen imploded a couple games, which has been uncharacteristic this year. So I think this is the week the Red Sox put it all together.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Royals 2-1 here. I'm a big believer in what have you done for me lately, and what have the Red Sox done for me lately. They've lost me a lot of money on the betting slips, and they're 4-6 in their last 10, whereas Kansas City is 8-2. They're at home. I just think the Royals might be a slightly better team than the Red Sox right now, and I think that they are going to get it done. Let's talk our last series prediction here. Dodgers versus D-backs, a little interdivision matchup. Who you got here? This is a 4-game series.
I'm going with the classic banana split. Classic banana split, 2-2. Burns has a comeback game against May. And I will take the game 4. The TBD starter of game 4. 2-4. Going even numbers. Put it on your roulette.
So I originally had the Dodgers sweeping when I thought this was a 3-game series. Once I figured out it's a 4-game series, I'm going to go Dodgers 3-1. I will say the D-backs are kind of a gritty team, and they are pitching some of their studs. It looks like at least Burns is going to pitch. I just think the Dodgers are rolling right now, man. And I think that they're going to really turn it on against their division, because I think that they realize how important it's going to be to knock off teams in their division this year. So I don't know. I see them kind of dominating this week. I know it's in Arizona. Give me Dodgers 3-1. Yeah. Exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff. And that's going to wrap up another packed episode. We just hit on a bunch of major injuries, surprising trade buzz, some fancy moves that you guys should be making versus not making, and just locked out our weekend series predictions. So if you guys enjoyed the show, be sure to follow us on all of our platforms. Leave us a rating, goes a long way. We'll be back next week breaking down the latest storylines and crowning a new weekly prediction champion of the week. Who do you think is about to surge or slump? Leave that on our social pages in the comments as well. And as always, stay toasty.